Look up at the night sky. Have you ever wondered if there are any rules up there? Is there like a grand storybook for how humanity is supposed to act in space? Well, it turns out there is. And today we're going to turn the pages on this incredible document.
So, picture it, the 1960s. The whole world is glued to their TVs, watching these rockets just tear through the atmosphere. For the first time, we've actually reached outer space. It was this moment of just infinite promise, but also a whole lot of questions. I mean, think about it. With this huge new frontier opening up, you gotta ask, who makes the rules? Is it just finders keepers? Could a country just plant a flag on the moon and say, this is ours now? The world really needed a plan. It needed a story that everyone could agree on. And to stop what could have become a total Wild West situation up in the cosmos, nations actually came together. The United Nations became the place where this rule book for the stars was drafted, all to make sure that space would be explored for the good of everyone. Okay, so let's open to the first and honestly, maybe the most important chapter in this whole story. It's the core idea that everything else is birthed on. Space belongs to all of us.
Now, this is Article 2 of the Outer Space Treaty from 1967. It might sound a little dense, but the words here are so clear. Not subject to national appropriation. That one little phrase completely changed our relationship with the universe.
So, what does all that legal speak actually boil down to? Well, it's a really simple but really powerful idea. It doesn't matter who gets there first. No country can own the moon, or Mars, or any other celestial body. It's a global commons for all of us.
And the real spirit of this law is captured in this amazing phrase from the treaty, that space is the province of all mankind. So it's not some new territory to be conquered, but this incredible domain for us to explore together for the benefit of every country.
So if space belongs to everyone, how are we supposed to behave up there? Well, the next chapter in our rulebook has a pretty clear answer. You've got to be a good neighbor. Oh, I love this part. The treaty doesn't just call astronauts, it calls them envoys of mankind. And that's not just some poetic fluff, it actually gives them a special status. It means that when they're up there, they represent all of us, not just the country they came from. And because they're representatives for all of humanity, there's a code for how to treat them. Other agreements later built on this, creating a really clear duty. If an astronaut is in trouble, you help. It doesn't matter what flag is on their suit, you do everything in your power to bring them home safe. And this whole good neighbor thing goes beyond just helping astronauts. Countries have to act with due regard for what everyone else is doing. So you can't just set up a big experiment that might mess up another country's mission. It's basically the galactic version of don't blast your music at 3 in the morning. Okay, so space is for everyone and we have to be nice to each other. Got it. But what happens when things go wrong? Like space junk or a satellite that falls out of the sky. This brings us to a very practical third chapter, the you break it, you bought it rule. The people who wrote this rulebook built this system piece by piece. First, back in '67, they laid down the basic idea. Countries are responsible for the stuff they launch. Then, in '72, came the Liability Convention, which spelled out exactly who has to pay for any damage. And finally, in '75, they created a system to keep track of everything. That last part, the Registration Convention, is actually pretty cool. It created a mandatory UN register for every single object launched into space. The best way to think about it is like a galactic DMV. Every satellite basically gets a license plate, so if something goes wrong, we know who to call. So who's actually on the hook? Well, the treaties define the launching state very broadly. It's not just the country that built the satellite. It could be the country that paid for the launch, or even the country where the rocket took off from. They are all held responsible. So there we have it, our little storybook. Space is for everyone, be a good neighbor, and clean up your own mess. But every story has a next chapter, and the one for space is being written as we speak. We have to remember these really important treaties were written during the Cold War. Back then, space was pretty much the exclusive playground of a couple of superpowers. The scale of everything was smaller, there were fewer players, and they were all countries. And that leaves us with this huge question. Is this rulebook that was written in the 20th century really ready for what's happening in the 21st?
A future filled with private companies launching thousands of satellites? Is it really equipped to handle things like asteroid mining or the incredible legal questions that'll come with a human settlement on Mars? The original authors gave us a really profound and hopeful beginning, a story of peace and cooperation. But new characters and new technologies are adding new pages every single day.